It's a little cool at the moment. It's about 7 in the morning. The reason why I'm outside now is because early in the morning, that's when your flowers are going to bloom. So this is the best time to pollinate. In fact, it's kind of the only time you can pollinate. If you try to pollinate your squashes and your zucchinis later on in the day, the flowers are going to close and it's not really possible unless you damage the flowers. You don't want to damage the flowers because you still want the bees to come. So once they've closed, try to leave them closed and come out early in the morning when they're nice and open. And that's the best time to pollinate. The thing about the flower is that it's actually one piece or one large petal. So as you pull it back, you're going to end up ripping it, which you don't want to do because it's like one, you know what I mean? It's one complete thing. So try not to do that. Try to pollinate early in the morning. So here I'm dealing with some squash. This squash, which is called the Kürbis here in Germany, is actually what is it? We've got 2 plants, and this is a good example. It's getting really tall. And I wanted to show you a few things. What the flowers, the male and female flowers look like, and also how this is being trained up this structure. You can see that it does a lot of the work itself. It's going to kind of attach it. If you can see that, it's going to do a lot of the attaching all by itself. So this is what I really want to show you. This is the female flower, and that right there, that is the fruit, or what will later become the squash or pumpkin, depending on what you're growing. And way down here we can see this flower. This flower is the male fruit, and you can tell because there is no fruit at the bottom, and it's a long stem. So what you want to do, let me show you how to do that. This is pretty fun. Is we're gonna crack off the bottom. Okay. Right. All these leaves. Crack off the bottom. Now this is the male, and this is the female. And of course, they're dying to come together. Ideally, you're going to take this from a different plant, not this one, because this is the same plant. Although this this is definitely not the same plant. Okay, and that one's not flowering yet. Oh, it is flowering. No, that's a male. And that's a male. And yep, they're all males over there. Okay, so we have, well, let's do that. Let's take a male from this plant. We'll cross them because it doesn't really work if you use the same. So I'll take this one here. That's a male, no fruit. Now the way you're going to pollinate this is, unfortunately, we're going to destroy the male flower. Poor little guy. We're just going to pull back all of these, this huge, it's actually one large petal. We're going to pull the petal back. Alright, so we have the pollen in the middle. Covered in little buggies. If you want, you can clean this off, get rid of the little bug dudes, and you can fry this up. Put a little batter on it and fry it up. It makes an amazing meal. So, we have our pollen from the male flower. And up here we have the female flower, and we're simply going to touch the pollen onto the female receptors in the center, which I'm a little short. I do hope it doesn't have plants at the top, or I'll never get to them. Oh, there's a bee in there. She didn't like that. Okay. Okay, so this one's done. Now the bees are in there and they are obviously pollinating, but it's very important that the bees go from the male flower to the female flower, not just to the female flower and off to another plant. So that's why if you want to guarantee that you have fruit, or that you have pumpkins or squash or zucchini or anything else, that you self-pollinate, especially right now because there are so few bees and we're having, the bees are disappearing. What can we do about it? Actually, there's a lot we can do about it, but the bees are disappearing, and this is a good way to attempt to fix some of that if you find that in your garden you've got less and less actual fruit coming out on your plants.
Oh, right, no, of course.
Okay, so I've taken the male part, I've taken the female part, and they have had luck going on. And now this little fruit here is going to grow. So my next issue is it's going to grow, and it's going to grow right there. So I'm going to end up with a big pumpkin about there because, you know, it's not up here, which would be lovely. So now I'm going to have to create some kind of little hanging, like a hangamatta. What are they called in English?
Hammock.
Hammock, right. I'm going to have to make a little hammock that'll hang right here to hold this fruit because it's going to get really big. If this was growing on the ground, it would be fine. It would grow along the ground and it would just sit on the ground. But you don't really want that because it's going to sit on the ground and it's actually going to get a brown spot, and depending on how much water is there or dirt, it might start rotting. So that's not good. It's also going to be closer to the ground. More bugs will get to it, more slugs, all that good stuff. Yeah, bad stuff. Here is perfect. We're just going to make a little thing to hold it. And then we'll do it continuously as it grows up. I'm not going to let it get too big. I don't want it falling off. And if I let it get too big, this whole plant will produce that one squash or pumpkin, and it won't produce multiple. So I'm going to keep them relatively small in size by removing them when they get to be a certain size, and then letting the plant produce more. Okay, so I'm off to pollinate other plants around the garden using my little male flowers here. Thanks for watching. I'm Scarlett, and this is How to Grow a Garden. How to pollinate your squash, your zucchini, your summer squashes, even your watermelons. They're all pretty much the same.